Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Ruidoso regular meeting. It's December the 12th. It's 1 o'clock. If you would stand with me, we'll have a moment of silence, and then we'll have the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
A reading from the Gospel according to Luke. And in the same region there were shepherds out in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were filled with great fear. And the angel said to them, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all the people." Amen.
Amen. Pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
All righty. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rifle. Thank you. All right. If I could please get a roll call, please, ma'am.
Mayor Crawford,
Here.
Councilor Eby,
Here.
Councilor Letterman. Here. Councilor Salas,
Here.
Councilor Hooker,
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll get down to it. Could I get a motion for approval of today's agenda with giving the chair the ability to move the items around?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented and allow the chair to move items for discussion at will.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, we'll have a roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilor Jackson,
Aye.
Councilor Eby,
Aye.
Councilor Hooker,
Aye.
Councilor Salas,
Aye.
and Councilor Letterman. Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. And I know we have a gentleman on that's got another meeting to go to, but if we can, I'd like to go, where am I looking for? There we go, item number 5 under mail reports. If we could go to that, which is an update on the village-wide fiber project, and we have Mr. Johnny Montoya. Welcome, Mr. Montoya. Can you hear us, Johnny?
Can't hear you.
One thing about technology is when you have a drone show, it doesn't work. If anybody saw the
I can
drone
hear
show.
you, Mayor. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We just wanted to get you on real quick because we appreciate your time. We know that you have another meeting to get to, and you're in Santa Fe, I guess.
I'm getting ready to head up there, Mayor.
Okay. So if you could just give us an up-to-date report on what we're doing with, because we're seeing a lot of Cascade and Kinetic Windstream trucks around town.
Yep. So good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. Johnny Montoya with Windstream. Just real quick, brief update. We are continuing to work on our overbill project. We have 2 major projects or 2 major jobs that will be provisioned, meaning they will be turned up for consumers on 12/28. So we will continue to turn customers up as we complete specific jobs. And by way of communication, with the help of Village Manager Senna, we are also sending weekly what we call street sheets or job sheets to Carrie Gladden, who is posting those on the website so that the community understands what streets we'll be working on, what projects we'll be working on every week. So we're trying to be transparent with the community so they know what we're working on at that time. In terms of progress, we are working diligently with PNM in what they call make ready or getting their poles ready for fiber installation. They have been very helpful. It has been a slow process. We're talking over 3,000 poles. What we are doing now is what they have been cooperative in is escalating a lot of the jobs that we have in the system in terms of getting their poles ready for fiber. So things are progressing. We've moved some crews from contracting, outsourcing to internal to make sure that we just prioritize this project and get it done on an ongoing basis. So things are moving well, Mayor and councilors, and we hope that your folks will start seeing some or your constituents will start seeing some broadband here pretty soon. We're also working with the village manager on trying to get the museum up and running on fiber here pretty quick. So those are the highlights, Mr. Mayor, and I'll stand for questions.
Okay, that sounds really good. So you're saying by December 28th, we'll start turning some folks on?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Do we know what part of town that is exactly?
Mr. Mayor, I don't think you do, but I could send a list of, I mean, I have it now, but it's just in a lot of foreign language to us in terms of job numbers and the language we speak internally. So I will get a report to the village manager that he can share with y'all.
Okay, good, because we're looking forward to this. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Mr. Montoya?
Just wonder if, are they putting door hangers out? Because I've heard of somebody receiving door hangers.
Good question, Mr. Mayor and Councilor. We have some crews that will be out there putting door hangers up, letting them know that the service will be provisioned or ready for ordering by December 28th. So there will be some folks out there putting door hangers up in the areas that will be turned up.
Okay,
Thank you.
it's good to know.
Thank you, Johnny.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right, Johnny, thank you very much. We're looking
Appreciate you.
forward to it.
Okay, bye-bye.
And if I don't have any objection, we'll go ahead and continue on because Corliss is back there wiggling and giggling. He's ready for the show to be over. He's already had his farewell bon voyage party, so he said I only have to hang around for one more minute. So we'll go ahead and go into presentation of new employees. We love this part because everybody knows the struggle of hiring good employees. We've been very happy and very fortunate, I think, of late to be able to get some really good quality people. But if we start off with David Gonzalez in the fire department firefighter. Attaboy. Welcome, thank you. Where did you come from, David?
I'm from Tularosa.
What do I always say? I'm telling you, man, we're eat up with Tularosa. I don't know if y'all know that. But I'm glad we have you because that's who's doing a lot of the work around here. So we're glad to have you. Thank you. Hopefully you have a long, prosperous one. So, Sergio Nava, there he is. Water distribution.
Yay.
All right. Get a good look at that guy because that's one of the ones. Whenever we have it, and it's happening a lot, we're replacing water lines and all that. But these guys are out there taking care of it at all crazy hours. So we appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoy it while you're here, and hopefully you're here for a long time. So where are you from?
I was born and raised in Rioso.
Excellent.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we love hearing that because usually everybody leaves and we don't get them back. So we're glad to have you.
And I love it here, so
Excellent.
be a part of something great.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Shauna Esquivel. Where's Shauna? Hello, Shauna. She's in finance, staff accountant 1. We're glad to have her. She was formerly with the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
And we've got her here. We're very tickled to have you very much, Shauna. Thank you for coming aboard. So she's from here, and her husband's an awesome plumber. So anybody know Toby knows they do a good job. So anyway, thank you, Shauna.
Welcome aboard.
Daniel Myers, PD. There he is. He's our recent acquisition. We're glad to have you in here. We had him on the radio the other day. His father, did I see him sneak in there? There he is, Dave Myers, right over here. And so we're very happy to have your son here. Glad that you're here, and hopefully you enjoy your time here. So, Joshua Featherstone, Parks and Rec. There you go, Joshua. Glad to have you. Where are you from, Joshua? Indiana, the Hoosiers. Oh, wow. So we won't go into how you got here, but we're glad you're here. And so you're in a big department. Those guys make so many things happen, so we appreciate you here.
Absolutely.
If we can be of service, let us know. Ray Martinez, Water Distribution.
Yeah,
There's Ray. Where are you from, Ray? El Paso, Texas. Good. Well, we're glad to have you here. Hopefully you're enjoying it so far. Started November 20th. Thank you very much. Christy Coker, Finance. There you go, Christy. Finance, billing clerk, because we had a couple retire, and so we're glad to have you here, very much so. Where'd you come from? Amarillo, the top panhandle, top of Texas. That's a great place to be from. I
Yeah.
am, I'm from there at Pampa, so Yeah, exactly. Well, we're glad to have you here. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. So we love getting our new employees in, and what do they say about many hands? Makes work lighter. Speaking of work lighter, can you do your best ho, ho, ho?
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
He did a good job. He was Saturday Santa at the convention center.
Don't tell.
Oh, yeah, well, there's nobody in here on the age of 35, I don't think.
All right, some of them kids might have
But he did a
figured it out.
great job with Diana and the guys over at the library the other day. So thank you, Santa Hooker. That was really good. So you do an awesome job on that. Now to the moment we've all been waiting for. We finally get to kick him out the door. Presentation of the retirement plaque, which I don't see
I
it.
was gonna say, where's the plaque?
Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. Another waiting.
Otherwise, a perfect meeting going along. To Jerry Corliss. Come on down, Jerry.
Yay.
For his service to the village of Ruidoso as a fire lieutenant for the fire department from January 2001 to December 23. Thank you, buddy. Now, don't run off. We have a nice little parting gift for you.
And you got to
And we'll get some shots, pictures. And if you'd like to come on up, this is your one last time that you get to say anything that, you gonna say anything? Yeah, come on. Well, he's been here a long time. Here it is, finally, okay. So everything I just said before is on this plaque. So we wished it was in gold and silver and that you could peel a little bit off, take to the bank once in a while. But we really do appreciate all the work that you've done, the many years of service you've given to the village, the protection you provided. And I don't see your wife around here.
She's not here.
She's not here, okay. She's probably, he does a lot of other things on the side. So now you get to do them full-time.
Yes,
So,
sir.
again, we appreciate you. And so hopefully you'll hang on to that with pride.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd just like to thank the Village of Ruidoso
Here, give me that. I said that.
for the opportunity to work here. I mean, it's been almost 23 years. I mean, hopefully I set a good example and I've left a lasting impression for some of the guys that I've been able to work with, and just thank you.
Well, we're going to miss you for sure. And so we're glad that you're going to stay around.
Yes, sir.
All the family's going to be here, and so we appreciate that you're staying here for the example you did set. And we've got some new guys. We got one coming on and one going off. So anyway, well, hopefully, good luck to you. Many good health days ahead. So again, Jerry Corliss, thank you. And I understand you already had a retirement party, right? Did we get a picture of him? Oh, Cheryl already did, okay. All right, thank you. But you did have a retirement party, I heard. Oh, I thought they had one for you at the fire department. Oh, it was a Christmas / Corliss party. Okay, well, they are efficient over there. So. Anyway, thank you very much, Sherry. All right. And then we have a presentation of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the U.S. VFW Officer of the Year for the State of New Mexico Award. Would you guys like to come on up? And then you can tell us who it is. Right on up here. Has somebody got a camera going?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You betcha. Introduce yourselves, if you would, please.
My name is Karen Rounds. I'm the Junior Vice Commander, Adjutant, Judge Advocate.
Lots of
few other
hats.
Lots of jobs. VFW Post 11999 out of Cloudcroft, and we are extremely excited. Senior Vice Commander, Casey Stingle, to let you guys know that the State Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for the entire state of New Mexico is Sergeant Dan Hiltman.
Yay.
So Sergeant Hillman is being awarded this for his more than over-the-top gallant actions during the McBride fire, amongst other things. And we couldn't be more proud that we got to nominate him. So thank you so much. And Sergeant Gilman, Mr. Stingle has
Also
something for
receiving
you
a
as
check
well.
from the VFW. Is that $1,000 or $100? $100,000.
Change the numbers a little bit. So, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor,
bet.
for letting us have this here today, and continue your good work.
Thank you, ma'am.
So,
Good job.
Good job.
Man, that's awesome. Thank you guys for taking the time to recognize. That's great. All the pretty girls just left, so I guess that comes with their certificate and the $100. Okay.
All right.
All right, thanks to the firefighters for coming in.
Yes, sir.
And we're excited, if the rest of you haven't seen the brand-new smoking truck, man, it's beautiful. That we've waited on a long time. It's finally here, so we're very happy to have that. So, and I think we got a few more things coming in pretty quick, I hope. So anyway, thank you, gentlemen. And thanks for getting the fire out of Cornerstone, so we still have a place to go eat lunch and breakfast over there.
Yeah.
These guys worked real hard on that. Now then, we have a update, because with the aforementioned McBride fire, I know some of you in the village. Is Ashley here? Okay, there, before I gave the big announcement, I want to make sure you're here. Because otherwise, we would have had a perfect meeting, and then we just didn't want to screw it up by. So anyway, we were getting a lot of calls about homeowners insurance, losing your homeowners, doubling, tripling, things of that nature. So we put out a lot of different calls to some of the insurance folks to talk to them. And Ashley showed up at several of the meetings and was listening. So if you'd like to come on down, and we can go over and you can kind of give some people some updates. And so we just appreciate you showing interest and coming down and letting us know.
It's nice to see you, Mayor and Councilman. There's a presentation, so.
Okay.
I think you guys might have some slides. I'll kind of move a little quick through it because I think a lot of people probably have seen a lot of it. But yes, my name's Ashley Dalton. I own an insurance agency here in Ruidoso, as well as one in Alamogordo too. So I see the risks basically across the two counties, which makes it a little different than just being here. My degree is accounting, and when I'm told something, I don't like general answers. Oh, they're just going up because they're going up, so I started to dig. Right around August of 2021, so pre-McBride fire, we were already having companies starting to pull out. That's really when we started to see the companies say, okay, it's too high fire risk. So I was already reaching out to Nick Smokovich, the Bureau of Land Management, and saying, okay, what's going on? Specifically in Ruidoso, you know, we have ordinances. They have to trim their trees. Why is this not working? Why are we high risk? So we kind of went down this rabbit hole, is the best way that I can explain it, and started to really dig. So what's happening is in 2004, the ISO department developed what's called a fire line rating. Traditionally, they were only using PPC. That fire line rating is really what's actually hitting us here. So our PPC is amazing, especially for being high in the trees. We're a PPC 2, and the declines that the insurance companies are getting do not say due to the protection class. It says due to fire line. So the biggest mission we had is, where is this coming from? Who developed it? Why is it not being reported? How, you know, what's the scale of it? And so we really just started to dig. So that led us in many different ways. If you want to go ahead and move forward. Here's a picture of Lincoln County in the early 1900s or late 1899s and early 1900s. Our landscape is changing. We're actually getting brushier. We have a lot of junipers that are popping up, a lot of that oak underneath brush that is here. And so one of the major things that I have been taught is that our landscape is actually significantly changing. So that's one of the things they're looking at. So if you want to go ahead and move forward. Between our two counties, in the last 10 years, we've had 747 fires determined just by lightning. So that's another variable that they're looking at. If you can move forward. What we're currently in is actually called the wildfire crisis, and this is actually coming directly from the Forest Service. That's what they've labeled this time. If you can move forward. Specifically overgrown forests, a warming climate, a growing number of homes and wildland-urban interface, which is kind of us. We're growing further into it than what we ever have before. And then following centuries of rigorous fire suppressions have all contributed to what they're calling the wildfire crisis. And so people are paying more attention. The Forest Service is working with partners to focus fuels and forest health treatments more strategically at a scale so that we can get a handle on it. They are calling this the bipartisan infrastructures. There's acts specifically for this, and the whole meaning behind it is reduction, mainly cross-border reductions, meaning private land, public land, to forest. And so they realize at this time that it's difficult to go through all of those. There's a lot of different hands changing places, and that we have to get a grasp on it. So next slide. There's basically, this is the fire triangle. So if you're in the fire, they always say it's a triangle of some sort, how they look at things. The hard part is there's only one thing that we can actually account for in that triangle, and that's the fuels. So I'll kind of go in, that directly relates to the fire line. Fuels is one of the variables on that fire line. And so now that we know that the fire line's being used, we've actually put together some information on how to understand it and where the data comes from. So if you can go forward. This is a map of the current Forest Service lands. So the ones that you have outlined in black are the new landscapes that they're currently working on. So these are ones where they're doing fuel treatments. The ones that have the lines through it are ones where they've already created fuel treatments cross boundaries. And then the ones that are not outlined, which happens to be us, and then several areas in California, are the newer ones that are not yet even on the plan to have cross treatments. So that's a very big factor. They are stating, yes, we are a new hotspot basically, but yet we're not even on, it's about 3 to 5 years away from being able to have that crossed treatments. So next slide. The definition, local, state, tribal, federal, and private land authorities all working together to share leverage resources and build partnerships on mitigation actions on the ground. Wildfire knows no boundaries. Mitigation must involve all of the partners. And truly, I think the Little Bear was one of those where at times it was very difficult because it went between so many different boundaries. Next slide. These next few slides are actually from a scientist from the department, or from Texas Tech. He's the Department of Natural Resources. He was here for the Urban Fire Summit. He's actually put together some data. He said contact him with any questions that he allowed for me to use some of it. So next slide. The reason why this is important is because insurance companies as well as other entities are now starting to use models to tell us what is going to happen for the future. Models are difficult at times. Next slide. A model lets us explore the possibilities based on relationships that exist in reality. We can test a variety of scenarios that would take too long, be too expensive, or too dangerous to study in real time. It also lets us simplify the complexity of reality to better isolate the effects that are most important or have large implications. So next slide. Modeling can be very difficult. I think anything in this time is very difficult. One person may like it, one person may not like it, and that is the problem with modeling. So by using modeling, here's a great example. The one on the left was the burn probability. The one on the right is what actually happened. So you might have some person say, oh, well, it was nothing compared to the model, where somebody else on the right might say, oh, you know what, the model reacted perfectly. The fire was exactly where you said it was going to be. It might not have been as strong or as intense, but yet you still had it spot on. Next slide. The modeling is done by two different companies. One of them is called Verisk and one of them is called CoreLogic. Now these are the two companies that the insurance companies use. Next slide. Verisk specifically does catastrophic modeling. They look at historical data for low frequency, high severity events. For wildfire catastrophe models, they provide realistic simulations of possible losses. That includes the weather, the fuels, and the ignition data. It also employs physical-based fire spreads, so they take a look at the types of trees we have as well and how they're going to react, and then considers increase in development or exposure over time. So basically, they're gathering all of this data, and then they report it to all of the insurance companies. So the best way to explain is the insurance companies are data-driven. This is being reported to the ISO and all the insurance companies. So we're taking the data and saying, okay, where do we go from here? Next slide. They consider temperature, precipitation, drought, the grass shrub mixes, and forest. So our forest is actually a difficult one. Traditionally, it burns every 5 to 10 years, and they actually can tell that from the insides of the trees. And so that's natural, but for us, now that we're growing, makes it more difficult for us that have homes. So next slide. Hazard risk rate results. So this is very difficult. If you go to riskfactor.com, you can put in cities, counties, or states. So I just picked out some information about us. Now, this is actually operated by the Forestry Department. And so this data is available to absolutely anybody. Both of those, the wildfire.org/explore is a little bit more difficult. You can actually layer maps on top. Like you can say we're in a drought or it's gotten this bad, how is it gonna react? So it's a little bit more difficult, but this is information directly from them. So insurance companies are being told by our own federal government that Lincoln County has a very high wildfire risk of 98% compared to other counties in the United States. Ruidoso in itself is at a 99% higher than other places in the United States. Ruidoso Downs is at 98% and Capitan's at 97%. So the data coming in is reporting that we're high risk, and that's kind of the situation we're in. Next slide. Otero County on the complete opposite, even though it has Tiburon, Cloudcroft, Mayhill, they're operating at a 90%. So when a lot of insurance companies actually said we're not writing in Lincoln County at all anymore, there's been several of them, we can still write in Otero County. So it is an upset for our county here, even right in the middle of town, we're having a difficult time. Next slide. Insurance companies also pay attention to other things such as the CWPP plan, which is our Community Wildfire Protection Plan. The last time that one was done was 2019. It was actually just more of a refresh from 2015. They basically said the data is still correct. It pretty much all applies. And this is how our own locals rated us for wildfire risk. Next slide. As you can tell, the high-risk communities, they actually, some of them drill down to neighborhoods. It's a little bit more detailed than just going city by city. Pretty interesting to find. Now, one thing that we've really discussed is we are due for a new CWPP plan, and it has been discussed to have it the most detailed that it has ever been, so that we are not hurting ourselves by not being detailed enough in specific communities. Next slide. Here is a breakdown. I really like this part of the CWPP. You do have to dig for it a little bit. The first one only gives you the main pages. I can email this to you. This is the large packet that actually gets submitted to the state. It goes over the neighborhoods, but what I really like about them is it gives you further detailed information about why they're high risk. So take, for example, in Legacy, Outlaw, Bald Eagle, non-surfaced steep roads, heavy vegetation fuels, lack of defensible space, terrain conductive to unfavorable fire behavior, lack of structure, sprinkler system, and utilities are above ground. So if you go to the next slide, I do have Ruidoso listed. So this is what our own rated our area. Heavy vegetation and fuel loads, defensible space less than 30 feet around the structures, terrain conductive to unfavorable fire behavior, lack of structure sprinkler systems, utilities above ground, and limited egresses. Next slide. So how are the insurance companies navigating all of this? Next slide. Why it's hard to get home insurance in fire-prone areas. Record-breaking wildfires in recent years have inspired homeowners insurance companies to reconsider the risk of insuring homes in fire-prone areas. Many traditional carriers are refusing to insure properties in this area, and others have stopped renewing policies. Insurers don't want the liability, and dry seasons are getting longer while wet seasons are getting shorter. And just in the last 5 to 10 years, we've lost more money than ever due to wildfire specifically. And so they're really taking a big look at it. Not just the insurance companies, though. What a lot of people don't understand is insurance companies have insurance companies. They are called our surplus. They are now actually not wanting to insure companies that insure wildfire. So it's bigger than just an insurance company saying, I don't want to insure this area. We're being told if you do, we will not provide that protection if you go over your limit, is where it's kind of coming from. Next slide. This is just a graph of the wildfires burned in the last 20 years. What's interesting as well is you'll see 2020 was so high. It was actually a high year for home losses as well due to COVID. People being home all the time, we had more home appliance losses than ever before in the history because people were using their appliances more regular than they ever had before. So that's a variable in that too, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so it's increasing significantly. So they're paying closer attention to it. Next slide. I really want to dig in a little bit into this because this is the hard part. We've always been told that the PPC is exactly what we needed to reach for, and I think that's why we're in this situation. We had to do some very deep digging to figure out where the fire line came from, and the PPC was developed in 1971. It was created for very urban areas. They realized, the ISO department, that it was not giving a correct basis or risk factor for rural areas because a lot of rural areas have volunteer fire departments or a hybrid model, and it wasn't zeroing in on what they needed. So the PPC encompasses 50% from the quality of your local fire department, including how many staffing members you have, their training, and the proximity to the firehouse. So how far away is your home to the firehouse? It also comes from 40% availability of water supply, including prevalence of fire hydrants and how much water is available to put out fires. And then 10% comes from the quality of the area's emergency 911 system. So I can give you an example. Las Cruces, about 5 years ago, went through a really rough cycle with their 911 system. When there was actually a fire, either multiple would respond or nobody would respond, so they changed them to a PPC 9/10. Insurance companies pulled out of Las Cruces. It took about 2 years for the infrastructure to be fixed. So we have ours right now with all of the high fire lines, but other communities have gone through it for other reasons as well. So they have added an extra 5.5%, which is actually kind of a bonus for community outreach and fire prevention safety courses. So things that we can do with the school and other things as well. The ISO fire line was developed in 2004 by the ISO, and it is for urban wildfire infrastructure areas, designed to predict risk specifically to wildfire fires in rural areas. It's data-driven, so that data is brought from VeriRisk and CoreLogic. CoreLogic is another national company that does the mapping as well. For fire lines, there's 3 specific things that they look for. The fuels around a property, and at this point, this really is done on a property-to-property basis or even a neighborhood basis. They don't just look at Ruidoso as a whole, and I'll kind of dig into that a little bit as well. But they're looking at the fuels, they're looking at the slope of the property, and they're looking at the access to the property. So are the firefighters going to be able to get there? So what really actually affects us the most in Ruidoso inside the village is the fuels around a property and the slope of a property. So those are things we kind of need to start to pay closer attention to. One of the things that Joe Kenmore had talked about before is even during McBride, there were a few homes that they were not able to get to because the road was just not wide enough. And so that's something we have to start to pay attention to because he's not allowed to put his guys in danger if they can't get to the home or it's going to risk them. So there were homes that they did actually go by and were not able to help in any way. So that's one of the biggest things about the access end of things. The score for the fire line is a 0 to 30 score. You would think 15 would be kind of the good. Actually, the majority of homes in the United States are between 1 and 4. Right now in Ruidoso, normally the lowest fire line that we see on average is a 4, so we're already considered to be in the high risk level. We do have homes that go up to the 9, 10. I've even seen fire lines 30s before, to be honest, but we do have high ones here in town, and I'll give you some examples. Next slide. Fire line and protection class account for 30 to 50% of the underwriting decision on homeowners insurance. So just that right off the bat, without looking at the person's risk assessment, do they pay their bills on time? What type of home is it constructed out of? Just the fire line and the protection class are automatically declining the majority of the people in our community right now. So the other things that the insurance companies do look at is the home fire resistant. Is it not combustible? Is it an ordinary type home? Meaning, is it a log home or is it a dome home? Dome homes are very hard to insure. Is it heavy timbered around or is it wood framed? They also take a look at the different types of construction types, stucco versus frame, the type of roof. Roofs are one of the major factors when it comes to fire, if it can uphold against the embers that are flying or if it has vents to keep those embers from getting inside the rafters. If the home's had major renovations to protect against this, is the plumbing, the heating been upgraded? The condition of the property. Condition is very difficult because you can talk to 10 people and every person's gonna say my condition is perfect. And then when you go look, it's a whole different variable across. The size of the home as well as the age of the home is what they also look at. Next slide. Insurers are responsible to choose their level of acceptability for both protection class and fire line scores based on the data reports. So all the data is telling us we're very high risk. And what happened in 2021 is the insurance companies started to take a look and say, okay, what are we willing to risk? What level are we gonna go up to? Next slide. How does Lincoln County look? This was really a group discussion that we had at the Urban Fire Summit. Lincoln County as a whole has a very high percentage of volunteer fire departments. Ruidoso itself, we're definitely paid, but as our whole county, very difficult. On average, most counties actually operate more on a 50 to 50% paid. We're not, we're more 92%, with Ruidoso being the paid. So that's a heavy hit for the entire county. The results of the CWPP are not fantastic. Even our own locals are basically saying we're high risk. And then they'll also take a look at the wildfires that we've had in the last 20 years. So all the way around, even with the data coming from the Forest Service, the Department of Forestry, it's stating that we are still high risk even in the village. So next slide. Examples of fire line acceptability. So I kind of wanted to dig into this a little bit. Each company can choose what they are wanting to take. So farmers will take a fire line 6, or if it's a wood roof, it gets dropped down to a 4. Foremost Insurance said no business in Lincoln County whatsoever. They won't accept anything over a 0. There is not one home in our county that's under a 1. American Modern is accepting high fire lines, but they are now starting to decline vacation rentals or landlord properties if they were within 3 to 5 miles of any of the fires. And they just added a new restriction that they want the homeowner to live within 100 miles. So that's very difficult for us with a lot of the Texas people owning the nightly, weekly rentals. We're getting declined left and right now, even on those. Aegis Insurance, no more any Lincoln County, and they're also non-renewing, not just saying no new business. Scottsdale Insurance uses the core logic. It's a little different. It goes from 1 to 100. They have pulled out of Lincoln County completely and are non-renewing all of their business in Lincoln County. State Farm was the one company that only used PPC up until a year and a half ago. They adopted the fire line a year and a half ago, and on September 15th, they dropped their acceptability for Lincoln County to a 6. So they're also now starting to decline things. AU Gold, which is really for high-risk things like builder's risk policies or vacant properties, that's the only company that's high-risk surplus that's using the protection class as of right now. Next slide. Here are some examples of what I get. I think one of the things that people say is, well, can't you just go take pictures and show? The databases do not let us rebuttal any longer. I've done insurance here in Ruidoso since 2013. I moved from Prescott, Arizona. I worked for Farmers Insurance there, and I did live there during the fires. I lived there when the firefighters died. I was supposed to have already moved here, but I asked for an extra week to get over the catastrophe because there was just so much going on. So I'm used to these sorts of things, but it is definitely getting harder. We can no longer rebuttal. I cannot go, it used to be I could go lay on the ground and show what the slope of a property was or that there was a fire hydrant in the front yard. We can no longer do it. It comes from the ISO or it's a no, period. So the technology has really changed that. Even for us agents, we don't have the flexibility to fight for things any longer. They say give it to us from the ISO or rebuttal the ISO or it's a no-go. Here's one property and how many declines that we got from all the different types of companies. The very top one is actually a business just right here in the middle of the town, right off of Meacham, and they non-renewed their coverage due to a fire line score. So if you will notice, the biggest thing is none of these say for protection class. They all say for fire risk or fire line. So we're not fighting the protection class, we're fighting that ISO fire line that came out in 2004. Next slide. Examples of protection class and fire lines just here in town. An example of a home in Cream Meadows, it's gonna be a protection class 2, fire line 1. Very well maintained, very low fuels around the property, very low slopes. That would qualify the pretty much any company. A home off High Loop Road is going to be a protection class 2, fire line 8. The slope of those homes, it knocks it out almost every single time. A home in Sonterra, As an example is a protection class 8/9. The slashes basically come from what is the response time and is there a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet? So a lot of them do not have that fire hydrant and they'll put it as an 8/9. However, they are a FireWise community. So they did what they needed to do to become FireWise and it's still actually having an opposite effect because of the data. Home protection class for NoGal, it's a 6/9 since they have the new responding facility, but yet their fire lines are very high. Fire line 11 is the average there. Next slide. This is really important for us here. How much does home insurance rise after a fire? The average is about 40% for a community after a fire. So there's two things happening here. We were being told we were high risk before the fire. Then we had the fire, and now we have the high risk after the fire. And then you bundle it with the cost of the materials going up through the roof in the last few years due to COVID, and it's just created an absolute disaster. Next slide. How to save your home: create a minimum 30 feet fire break, keep your roof and rain gutters free from needles, keep firewood and flammables at least 20 feet away from your home, update your roof materials, and do not store anything near or underneath the home. Next slide. I do have some of the Living with Fire if anybody wants any of them. I've had people with associations come to me and say we'd like everybody to have a copy of this so they can have some of the things that can help protect their home directly from the fire departments and such as well. Next slide. I wanted to include this because with us being high wildfire on top of the inflation and everything else going on, it makes it even more difficult for us here. So I kind of wanted to explain just a little bit. Home insurance rates are on the rise nationwide without being high risk, and some of the reasons are the rising rebuild cost, the long history claims, the high cost of the materials and labors, and then the increase of the natural disasters that are not slowing down due to the climate change. Next slide. This was a report from 2022. The situation has got so bad that there are insurance companies that are actually closing their doors. There are insurance companies taking other measures as well. Kemper Insurance has been around almost 100 years. They're done. They're not writing business any longer. The way that insurance works is we are responsible to have a certain amount of money in our reserve. That's what allows for us to be an insurance company. With all of the catastrophes and then COVID increasing the rates for labor and materials the way that it did, just in farmers insurance alone, we were at 35% depletion. So the Department of Insurance basically came to farmers and said, you've got two options. You close your doors or you raise your rates because you do not have enough money in your account. So when you're talking to your insurance agents and those sorts of things, there's some things that we can change your deductible and it's not gonna make a difference. The bottom line is there is a certain amount of percentage required in order to continue to stay in basis, and that's what a lot of the insurance companies are up against. But this is how much money the insurance companies were losing. So State Farm actually had the largest amount in Q1 of 2023, and they lost $13.8 billion. Next slide. So what do insurance companies do when they start to lose money and they do not have the same amount of money in their reserve? They move out of high-risk areas. You have seen reports of companies pulling out of California and Florida. Some of them are also now pulling out of Texas. The reason why they're doing that is they're trying to protect the other areas. They want to still insure New Mexico. We don't have hurricanes. We really only have wildfire, right? So we have very limited, we still have a lot of wildfires, but we're not encompassing the same types of risks as the other areas. They reevaluate their acceptability in their current areas. So a lot of people that I've talked to, they're having new inspections on a home that they've had insured for 20 years, or they're getting a non-renewal letter, or they're saying you have to clean up your property. What they're doing is they're coming back and taking a look and saying, okay, this needs to be done or your insurance is not gonna be enforced. And we're in a big part of that right now. Every insurance company is doing it. I had a gentleman on my road the other day say, well, they can try and step on my property. And I said, if you tell them no, they're just gonna cancel your policy. So it's written in, but I understand. It's a tough thing because I don't necessarily want them on my property either. Some companies just send the letter directly to the insured. Some companies actually let the agent know so that we can reach out and say, hey, here's what's happening. Can you take pictures yourself? Would you like for us to come out and take pictures, or how would you like to go about this? So everyone's a little bit different. They tighten all of their underwritings. They reinspect current policies, just not only for condition, but also for risk factors. Is this person paying their bills on time? Why is that important? Because if the person didn't pay their homeowners, but then there's a fire 30 days later, do we insure that property? So they are actually heavily looking at risk factor. Risk factor is different than what a credit score is. And you can see it like on Credit Karma and stuff, they've added a little box that says insurance score. It really is, do you pay your bills on time? It actually has a huge effect on auto insurance as well. They're also cutting advertising. They're reducing agent commissions. Farmers insurance alone for me used to be 10%, now it's 7%. So I can give you an example. If we wrote a $1,000 policy, we only made $100 for the year anyways, and now we're only making $70. So we're being told we need to have more employees, you have to pay more because of minimum wage, but now you just took 3% out of every single policy that we have. So we're up against that as well. And then they're also reducing corporate employees. Geico released like 12% of their force, Farmers released 11% of their force, Allstate released a portion of their force. They are trying to do what they can to put money back in that reserve and not have so many expenses on the other side. Next slide. Repercussions of insurers losing too much money, they get a rating decrease. So this is actually really important. For an insurance company to provide mortgage protection, meaning you're purchasing a home and you have to have home insurance, you have to be an A-rated company or a B+ rated company or higher. There are companies that have been dropped down. It was just released that Allstate was being dropped to a B negative. So if you don't have enough money in your reserve, not only do they tell you you have to make some major decisions, but they can also drop your rating, which means you can no longer offer mortgage insurance. So it's a huge thing that they're up against. They become bankrupt, they go into insolvency, and then here's the harder part. Less insurance companies in the area mean the insurers that's staying are required to put more money into the fund for that specific area. So depending on how many people you have in a certain area, the Department of Insurance for New Mexico for homeowners has to have this certain amount of money. Well, if these insurers left, the ones that are left now have to still make up that certain amount of money. While ratings provided by rating agencies can give you a good idea of an insurer's financial stability, they're not really perfect. So I think that's with everything. They're looking at statistics and it can really be a catch-22. Next slide. Again, how to decrease some rates, take larger deductibles, update your insurance agent on any changes that you've had on your home. Specifically through COVID, a lot of people renovated. Tell your insurance agent. It might make your replacement cost a little higher, but there's an internal factor to that says that you did work on your home and it's no longer as high risk because your plumbing, heating, cooling, and all those things were updated. It's a major factor. Also look at the building coverage of your home. It fluctuates with features. So if you call to get an insurance quote and that insurance person is not asking you what type of flooring you have, what type of countertops you have, and those specific questions, your policy is wrong. The systems that we have, which is actually 360 Marshall, and there's about 3 other ones, Marshall and Swift. It's a group of engineers where you just put the home data in and it tells us what it's going to cost to rebuild. The insurance companies do not want to be responsible to tell you what it's going to cost to rebuild, so we go back to the engineers for that. There were situations in the McBride fire, specifically right on McBride, where people had come in and said, I don't want to carry that much insurance. My home is not a custom home. My home is above average. As an insurance agent, we have to be very careful with that. Mainly because you associate yourself with the people that you live by or the community that you live in. So if you were to ask somebody that maybe lives off Cree Meadows, is that home up there custom or above average? What would they say? They're gonna say it's a custom home compared to what they live in. So we have to be very careful insurance-wise and making sure we're just looking at the data and not making assumptions based off the type of neighborhood that they live in. But this lady specifically came in and said, I don't think my home is gonna cost $800,000 to rebuild. I wanna drop it to $6 million. She said it's not custom, it's above average. She was short about $700,000, but she had signed the paperwork that she refused to carry the higher insurance. So it's a big thing. Really pay attention to that because when things happen, it can really hurt. Bundle stuff, that's the only time that you get those 20% discounts and things. And we know at times it's hard because we're shopping so many different companies. Even with Farmers, we are now considered to be almost independents. We have all these companies to shop, but we're going through 8, 9, 10 companies to find somebody that's gonna take it here in Lincoln County. It's taking about a week, and so I'm telling all of my mortgage guys as well as the realtors, come to us earlier because homes aren't closing and they're being delayed because you're not giving us enough time. So a lot of the insurance companies are also requiring that we upload photos of proof of the type of construction of the home, and they will not let us bind until that's done. So we have to leave the office, go take photos, and then wait about 48 hours to have a response from the underwriting team. We're so high risk that they're not letting agents actually hit the submit button anymore. They want to see the property first before they let anybody do that. What you can do if you're experiencing non-renewals and declines, talk to your current agent. We have a ton of these. I myself had over 600 of them since January that we've had to rewrite. That is a lot of them. We're taking them as they come, but sometimes you might get the letter before we've had the chance to call. So just reach out because they might have some other options available. Shop the insurance, evaluate the home's condition, and this is actually a change. There is an insurance for the state of New Mexico property insurance. It's called the New Mexico Pool. They do not cover liability, but they will cover the structure. And due to the issues that the state's having, they actually increased that max to 300. They are looking at increasing it further because the reality is in Lincoln County, especially in Ruidoso, very few homes actually fall under that maximum of even 300,000. So they don't have enough coverage if there's something going on. Next slide. Where we go from here, we just bring education, and that's why I'm here. When we started to notice things and the data wasn't matching, I started to go down the rabbit hole. Why is this not making sense? What is happening? Why is Fireline so heavily influenced compared to PPC? How do we bridge the gaps? One of the main questions I had is, okay, what if we just go run out and do all of this tomorrow, which will never happen. We have to have time and money to do it. But what if we did? How long is it going to take to report to the ISO, to report to the insurance companies? How can we clear that up and make it seamless? Create more defensible space and really focus on those fuels. We can really use the technology and the mapping to understand those high wildfire activities. Be understanding, we're pretty much all in this together. Everybody wants to live here, and right now it is very tough, but just remember it does take a little bit of time. Even when you're shopping for quotes, it takes a little bit of time because things have gotten so tough. Next slide. And I think that's it. That's it. Questions?
Well, that wasn't uplifting. So I know that this always brings us to the discussion we have, our forestry department defensible space that we push, and we anger a lot of our citizens over that, but this is just more confirmation that we're doing the right thing there. But the discussion I never hear about, and we take it to the state level all the time, is mitigation, the federal mitigation. We have no control over what goes on out here. And they are the big reason, because you come into the village, a lot of the place, our spaces are defensible. And we're working on that continually. There's nothing being done really to speak of on the Fed portion, especially the wildland area and some of the others. So why aren't insurance companies working with communities like ours, or how can we get them to work with them to start pushing legislation instead of putting all the money in suppression, which is what we saw, is mitigation. How do we go in there and start thinning and talk about job creation and what can be used from the fuels that are out there now being made into something else?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where we are now, is these discussions have to happen. We've done it on a county level. I talked at that meeting. Even the Wildfire Summit, I talked at, because I had been working with them for 2 years now. They basically said, come up, let's show you, because I really did think it was a data issue, to be honest, and they're saying, no, it's not. One thing I did learn, though, is they're very behind through COVID, even on a federal level, because the mitigation efforts, they're still government entities, and they were being told that they couldn't have very many people out there. And so they already recognize that they are years behind because they couldn't have the same amount of people on the ground. And I do really get tired of the COVID. It'll be due to COVID, but the reality is we are still really struggling with that. The backlash of it is incredible.
Well, we still got people at the state level that don't go to work. They still work from home. So yeah, we get that. So it's reality checks. But so in Ruidoso, you are able, if you do the defensible space.
Yeah, so the few things that they look for, those fuels, if the home's cleaned up. Now, one major thing is they will take into account your neighbor, though, and a lot of people don't like that. But if the neighbor's property is a fire risk, it's got wood stacked up against the fence, which is the properties between, or it's overgrown, it will affect you. that has gotten to be so bad. I actually had a guy in Cloudcroft that illegally went on his neighbor's yard because the neighbor hadn't been there in a year. He's like, I don't care, they're never here, I'm gonna do it because I can't. So they are looking not just at that main home. The bigger thing is just the education of it, talking with the ISO. The Lincoln County Fire Response, they are opening up those conversations, so is our fire chiefs. What can we do and give us a better guideline for these fire lines? Eric Wershing, the fire chief for Cloudcroft, I actually speak with him tomorrow. He was in that 2004 meeting where they released the fire lines. And so my question to him was, well, when they released this, why didn't they hold some sort of meeting for the fire chiefs to say, okay, now we have two variables we're looking at, and this is what you look for. And so that's kind of what we're in the middle of, is going back to say, how long, if we make changes do we need to make? What can we do to get us over this curve that will report immediately to the ISO, because the ISO is the one that reports to every insurance company. And then two, how can we make that report quicker? So that's what we're in the middle of, is trying to find some resolutions for all of that.
Okay, so they're not losing money from Holmes' State Farm commercials or Liberty Mutual, all that stuff. It's just, it's the mitigation, the drought, all of that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
the reality is that we're moving in the right direction on our stuff. But the county, they still need to do theirs, because we have neighbors that are with our ISO at 2, and the county sometime right across the street is a 7.
Exactly.
And so that changes your insurance rates dramatically, so.
Oh, absolutely. Excalibur, because now they're up there volunteer. Behind Swish, they're volunteer. Gavilan Canyon, it's very difficult to get at.
What do you mean behind Excalibur?
So some of Excalibur up there is now considered to be county. So some of the homes actually
I didn't
float
know that.
to Lincoln County
Up
responding.
on Camelot?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
Why are we maintaining all those roads? I don't believe that.
No, I'm not exactly sure why.
I don't think
It's a
so. Those are-
PPC thing on those, not just the roads, not just the slope. And so one of the things.
Well, they all have water meters up there, that's what I'm saying. So they're in the village, I know
Yeah,
they
see,
are. I
I'm not
lived up
exactly
there.
sure. But that's some of the stuff that I'd really like to do, is almost like a case-by-case basis. Now, the one thing about our farmer system, which I really like, is it gives us the slope of a property, like those examples that I showed you up there of declines. Farmers will actually give you the slope of the property and the fire lane of a property, as well as the fuel rating and the protection class, and no other companies do. So now what we're working on is kind of like a data compile, where we're picking different properties throughout the village and taking a look at how they're rating those. Because that's done from the ISO. We basically just tap in and say, how do you rate this home, right? And then they give us the rating of it. Is there something wrong in that rating? Where is that coming from? So I saw the other day when I ran a property, just up over Valley View in that area, in the mobile homes, that it was coming back as a protection class 6. It should not, it should be a 2. So what is going on here with these ratings, and why is it not being reported correctly? We have seen some really crazy things in the past.
Who would report it?
So the ISO department comes from our local fire chiefs, in their ratings of things. So when they test their fire hydrants and those sorts of things, that's where the data comes from. So we've had instances in the past, and the best example I can give you is Enchanted Forest in Alto. We kept having people come to us to say, I don't understand, I have a fire hydrant in my front yard, and we go take a picture, and sure enough, there was one. It ended up being that the Water Association never actually had the fire hydrants inspected, so they weren't legal, so the ISO never even knew they existed.
Yeah.
So once we cleared up that data of being incorrect, now their rates went down. The fire lane is still kind of an issue, because they do have a lot of fuels on the ground, but we were able to clear that up. So it's really figuring out a way of why certain areas are wrong, and you can get the same rating no matter what company you go to. It's just digitally pulling in. Because I've been to State Farm, I sat down with State Farm. There's a new guy in Alamogordo too. He's new, and he's like, I want answers. I don't want that, general, it's just too high. So we're sorting through the data to figure out. Now, the hard part is, as an insurance company, the ISO department will not speak to us. They will only speak to fire marshals, or like you guys, for answers. And the main reason they do that is because it is almost like a cross. And so anytime we need help, I would really go to Joe Kenmore and say, hey, I need help on this.
When he's retired, so
I know,
we
the
need to
new
get
guy is
somebody
really-
new.
He's
Well,
pulling in.
Eric, where's Eric Queller? He's the new,
Oh, yeah, he's helping
I
on
don't see
it
him.
too.
He's our guy somewhere, but
Yeah.
He's on vacation. Well, don't get a hold of him today.
No, that's okay. He was actually at the county meeting.
Yeah, he was at all those meetings too, so.
Yes.
We are doing everything that we can do
Yep,
to a point, but it needs to be more from a state standpoint, county standpoint, and federal, where all these defensible space cleanups and everything are enforced.
absolutely.
Does anybody else have
Absolutely.
any questions?
Great presentation.
Oh, Mr. Well, you mentioned that the appliances, because of COVID, that people staying home and using appliances
Yeah.
more, that was creating fires. So so I'm assuming that right there added to the risk that insurance companies are taking on. So in that, is there something that the insurance company is doing to try to mitigate and inspect appliances and furnaces and such to try to lower that?
Yeah, so
Portion?
they are, and this is a frustration, especially for our communities that do have older. They are requiring like an internal home inspection. They are offering that you can do it yourself, but they want pictures of your plumbing underneath as well as your electrical boxes and things, and some people just don't want to provide that. So the hard part for insurance companies, and that I struggle with this every single day because we are a small town, right? They learned during COVID that people could really do some things, like taking a video of your house, because nobody was allowed to come to your house. We had a lot of hail claims during COVID, and the adjusters were legally not allowed to come to your home to inspect. So they created all these different types of like apps on your phone where you can take a video. But then we go up against, well, I don't know how to do that. And so, yes, they have come out with that, but it makes the process even longer because we always get, well, I don't know how to do that. You have to come out to the house and do that. And so we're doing it, but we've had to create a schedule to where we visit 2 or 3 with so many inspections, 2 to 3 homes a day, and we schedule them out like a week or so in advance so that we can get to them because they're requiring so much more of those sorts of things. But yes, they absolutely are. Plumbing is a big thing now in the electrical. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, so a lot of features to that.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Appreciate you. Next, we'll have an update on the Sierra Blanca Regional Airport ribbon cutting ceremony. Is that you, Lee?
Mayor, I guess
You doing it?
I'll present this. Just, we sent out a mayor and council flyer. This is going to, the ribbon cutting will be on December the 19th. Let me get my glasses here.
10 a.m.
It's next Tuesday, 10 a.m. So we've invited different state and federal dignitaries and other local government elected officials. So we hope to have everyone there, and we'll have the greeters there, and there'll be some refreshments. And also, they've asked that we're going to have some boxes for Toys for Tots. Anyone could bring over some unwrapped new gifts for Toys for Tots.
Okay, so anybody's welcome to go out there.
Yes.
See what, all the new work that we've done. We have Armstrong, who did all the engineering on that. So we're very pleased with that.
Yes, and Mesa Verde is a contractor, so.
Yeah, and since we received all that money in grants. So that concludes the mayor reports and presentations. So now we can get back on cue and go to consent regular items. Item number 1 is approval of governing minutes, body minutes, November 14th, 2023. Regular minutes, December 5th, 2023, workshop minutes. Item number 2, approval of certificate of records destruction, number 2023-006. Item number 3, approval of award of 2024-005B, rental and laundry services for uniforms, floor mats, and janitorial items to Mission Linen Supply. Item number 4 is approval of EMS fund application for the Ruidoso Fire Department in the amount of $24,350, no cents. Item number 5, approval of ratification of state's grants in aid agreement to public libraries for the fiscal year 2024 between the New Mexico State Library and the Village of Ruidoso Public Library in the amount of $10,352.38. Item number 6 is the approval of task order RFP number 2022-002P-07, Amendment 1, on-call watershed engineering support and design proposal reviews with Riverbend Engineering, Inc. for extension of time from December 2023 to October 11th, 2024. Item number 7, approval of task order RFP number 2022 2023-002P-08, Amendment 1, Rio Ruidoso at Water Plant Number 1, Malone Road to Martin Road, and Riverbend Engineering with Riverbend Engineering LLC for the extension of time from December 2023 to October 11th, 2024. Item number 8, approval of task order RFP number 2022-006P-MCA-01, amendment to Eagle Creek Well Field Phase 3 with Mosen Corbin and Associates, Inc. for an extension of time from December 2023 to June 2024. Item number 9, approval of change order number 6 with Roper Construction to increase the contract time for from December 31, 2023 to March 30th, 2024 for completion of Alto 3, H1979 POD 5 and Alto 4, H1979 POD 6 well improvements projects. Do we need to talk about COVID anymore? Item number 10, approval of purchase of 520 Peterbilt refuse collection truck and for the Solid Waste Department utilizing Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract Number 060920 PMC from Hunter Truck Sales in the amount of $374,213.71. Item number 11, approval of purchase of a 2024 Battle Cab and chassis from Universal Waste Systems utilizing Cooperative Educational Services, CES Purchasing Contract Number 2024-03-C111-all in the amount of $240,000 to repair solid waste collection vehicle that was brand new when we got it. Somebody ran into it in the middle of the night. Item number 12, approval of Resolution 2023-40, a resolution accepting donated items of real property for the Wingfield Heritage House Museum. Item number 13, approval of the Wingfield Heritage House Museum Collection Management Policy and Code of Ethics. Item number 14, approval of request to schedule a public hearing for January 9th, 2024 on proposed ordinance 2023-07, an ordinance amending the Village of Ruidoso Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 38, Environment, amending Section 38-81C.
I move that we accept the consent items as presented.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Because all these extensions, we're just waiting on stuff that we've had on order for years now. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
All right, thank you, everybody. Now we'll move on to public input. It's limited to the first hour. Mayor Pro Tem here will give you 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. I'll give you a 2-minute warning, too.
First item is Wes Shank. Yes, come right on down, and the microphone should be green. Okay.
I received a notice on our door. Well, honestly, I'm
Excuse me, can you restate your
Yeah, just
name
state your name, I'm
and give your
sorry.
address?
West Shank 107 La Luz Lane.
Okay.
I'm here to speak about the 100 No Gal issue. It said to come and join that party today.
I don't know what we're talking about.
It's
Yeah.
regular item number 1.
Okay. Well,
It's regular item number 1. Oh, okay,
maybe I'm supposed to speak after that then.
okay. Regular item 1, yes, is action on adoption of resolution that's on your property.
No, not my property. I am in
Oh.
the neighborhood though, but
Okay.
definitely wanted to be here present for that and support our neighborhood and getting this resolved.
Okay, duly noted. Okay, that'll come up on number 1, regular
Okay.
item number 1.
Well, I'll come back.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome.
Want to give him the opportunity
That
to
would be,
speak.
that's
not a
since he can't
public hearing.
talk on regular item number.
Yeah, if you want to, because there's not any speaking, any discussion on that item, so if you want to express your opinion, go right ahead.
Okay, so my family and I moved into that neighborhood in 2015, and it has been basically in its current state since then, which is They don't finish any project that they've started. They've been reciting it for about 6 to 7 years now. They've house wrapped it probably a good 5 to 6 times because it just blows off and you find it in your yard. We don't know if people are squatting in that house. There's rarely people there. When they are, they just bring, and to be kind of frank, a load of junk with them. And it's never the same cards, it's never the same people. The house is not secured. We see people going in and out of it, like kids and stuff. There's scaffolding falling down. It's kind of just a really big neighborhood nuisance. And to be someone that goes through the permit process myself, I'm currently doing one right now for siding, and you have 180 days to get it done. If not, you extend it. And I know things happen and you gotta extend. I've actually done that myself. But 13 years it's been under construction. We've actually put our home up for sale once and had comments like, oh, but it's next to that house. It's becoming widely known. So to get that resolved would just be amazing for our neighborhood, not just for the eyesore, but property values and squatters and all the issues that come with it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up, Lynn Willard, the one, the only.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors.
Good afternoon.
I'm also here on 100 Nogal Place. My family has lived at 109 Nogal Place for 47 years. And when we first moved into the neighborhood, the Kleins owned 100 Nogal Place, and it was kind of the showcase of the entire neighborhood. Beautiful home, it was large, 2-story, and was a great place. And the Kleins continued to age and finally ended up leaving the area. And then the new buyer came in and has caused this commotion in our neighborhood for at least 13 years. I've spoke to the code enforcement officer about this every year. I take a picture every year to show the lack of any progress, not progress, the lack of progress. And we have people in that home now. I don't know if there's electricity. I don't know if there's water, but there are people, several people living in there. And I see them come and go all the times, day and night. And I wonder if there is a policy for occupancy. Do you have a certificate of occupancy to live in a home like that? I wouldn't think so. This all started when the porch started falling off of it, and code enforcement came in and put a red tag on them and said you have to get that fixed. And then the current owner decided to do this grandiose scheme of enlarging it, putting all this granite work out in front of it and doubling the size of it. I think he's probably thinking about having it at an Airbnb if he ever gets it done. But it is I think code enforcement has helped them time after time after time, just extending their work orders. If you look at your paperwork that you have in front of you, you can see that year after year and every 6 months there's an extension for the work orders and nothing gets done. And I think it's time to stop taking care of the owner and start taking care of the rest of our citizens. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Willard. Appreciate it. Don McLaughlin? Welcome.
Hi. I'm Dawn McLaughlin. I live at 119 Nogal, and I've want to compliment Mr. Simpson that's in code enforcement. I've contacted him pretty much monthly for probably the last 9 months about 100 Nogal. And he's always responsive, he always returns calls, and he's always informative and professional and answering questions. And I think that since he's taken over kind of the progression of 100 Nogal and trying to figure out what to do with it next, I think that it's been moving forward and seen more action. when I first started calling, it was a different person that was, that I was speaking with code enforcement, and the story I got was the owner lived in Texas, and he's a really nice guy. And he's been taken to court, he's been fined, the permits were out of, they were no longer current, and nobody was following up on that, it was just languishing. So I feel like at least there's been some progress on it, and I don't know, I'd like to know how many neighbors are here, possibly that are here, that are concerned with the property, because we pass it every day. You know, the insulation sheeting is coming off, like I said, in pieces and flapping in the wind. And I was told that they came to shut off the electricity, and then somehow they were talked out of it. So that there's several families that appear to be living there, maybe as squatters. There's like 5 cars that are in the driveway that come and go. And it just is an eyesore. And so my question is, if it's been in disrepair and codes haven't been followed for at least 13 years, how long do you let it go on? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That concludes the public input portion. And then we'll go on to boards and commission appointments. There are none. But I believe we're going to have opening shortly on Parks and Rec. Keep Ruidoso beautiful. So I don't have an application I think of yet, but if someone's interested in that, get a hold of Parks and Rec to T-Bone, and he'll get your application in. So we appreciate that. We'll move on to village manager report. Yes, sir, Ron.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. First, I'm going to have Eddie Ryan is going to be giving us an update on movie filming in Ruidoso. I want to thank Eddie for the showing at the theater on Friday night, so appreciate all the work he did with that on getting that accomplished. Thank you, Eddie.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Give you an update on the Apple movie, The Lost Bus. They are actually scouting today, so we have some of the location managers in Ruidoso looking at cabins, looking at different places. They're talking to me about creating a base camp. So looking at the recreation area where we have the soccer fields right behind Elegante, where we have that area. White Mountain, right. Mm-hmm. The parking lot area, that's something they're looking at possibly using as a base camp to put their trucks, their grip trucks, Star Wagons and different things like that.
In March and April?
Yeah, it'd be probably start seeing some trucks come in, maybe even February possibly, to just start parking them and get things kind of staged there. So that's one thing that we're looking at and hoping that we can accommodate them so we can have that space so they can kind of make that a base camp area. That's one thing they're looking at. And they're still looking on filming everything, getting everything rolling for March, April timeframe. They'll be here pretty much for about 2 months, I would say, getting production, pre-production, just moving things forward. So they're starting to ramp things up. And as that happens, we're going to start seeing a lot more people. They actually asked me today, you know, they're needing production offices, they're needing a place to do casting, so that way they can actually have people in Ruidoso, you know, try out for the movie if they want to. So they're looking at having a casting area, like a big room, they can come in, they can actually do something in front of the camera and see if there's any potential actors here in town. So that's something that they're looking for right now. I've been working with Ryan over at the college to hopefully have a short-term accommodation for him, because they have some offices there, plus some classrooms that could act as a, you know, for the stuff that they're looking for right now. And that's pretty much in the movie.
Well, you're talking a little background, because not everybody's up to date like we are, but it's a $200 million budget movie by some famous producers, directors that employ, that have done the, like the Born Supremacy movies. Some of them have worked on the Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff and a whole bunch of others. Tom
Yes.
Hanks, all of those kind of, so it's a big deal. They're talking about renting between 300 to 500 rooms for a couple of months
Yes,
while they shoot the movie here.
yes.
And so what you're saying is you're putting together a list of people, an inventory, if you will, of extras and things like that.
Sure, yeah, yeah. The director is Paul Greengrass, very famous director. The studio is Apple Studios, are the ones who are putting up the money for it. They have, they're working with Blumhouse Productions, which is a famous production company, and Comet Films, which is Jamie Lee Curtis's film company. She will come on as a producer for the film as well. Not sure if she's acting in it or not just yet, and they're still trying to cast the main actors for it right now. The actor strike really put a damper on things, and it's kind of pushed everything back a little bit. But they have David Crank, who is a famous production person, Cliff, who is their second AD, who has worked on pretty much all the big movies. So this is, and Greg Goodman, who you've met, Mayor, who is a famous producer. These are guys who've all worked on some of the biggest movies ever made.
And it's going to be called The Lost Bus.
Lost Bus.
And oddly enough, it's about fire.
Yes, it is.
About a bus full of school children that was lost, so it's there's a hero element to it. So.
Yes, 22 kids were trapped up in the Paradise Fires in 2018, and that was a pretty big fire that was right between Lake Tahoe and Chico, California. 22 kids were in a bus with a bus driver and I believe a teacher, and they were coming down the hill and they got trapped and they couldn't go down. So this film is a whole story about them going through the maneuvering the fire and the trees crashing down the bus, and just all the stuff that happened with the kids during that whole time. So they're also doing some stage work in Santa Fe Studios for like the actual bus, the trees falling down and stuff, so that way we don't have any fire stuff happening here in the village. They're going to use a lot of CGI for all of that kind of stuff for creating simulated fire.
Tim? Yep. Thank you. Can you, while you're here, talk about Xterra?
Yes, we had the privilege of having Steve Andrus, who is in charge of Canada, United States, and all South America for Xterra Triathlons. He came in and we had a great reception for him with everyone in the village, all the different departments. He was here for two days, full book days of just going through every different department and meeting with everybody. And on Wednesday when we were leaving, he gave Mike and me the thumbs up that we're good to go. And then we just received, the night of our Christmas party, we actually got the email confirmation that we have been chosen and accepted for 2025 Xterra Triathlon. And so we are putting all that stuff together now, and that is a huge event. Xterra is the largest triathlon in the world for mountain bike and trail running. And the plan is that the first year in 2025 will be a silver elite event. And then by the third year, hopefully the North American Championships. And by the fifth year, the World Championships, which will be televised in ABC Sports.
That'd be cool.
That'd be pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got some exciting stuff. You're doing a great job, Eddie.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
Thank you very much.
Doing a very good job. And then he was talking about it's called Christmas Classic, which is out.
Classic, yes.
And it's on Amazon Prime or Paramount Plus.
That's correct.
And we had a little screening over here at the Cinema Max, which was really nice. Those chairs
Yes.
are awesome.
It's nice.
And we had some local folks that got to actually be in it and have speaking parts and all that. So it was a lot of fun to get to see those guys there. So we
was
hope
great.
that's the beginning. They were at the Parade of Lights. They were in town filming
Yes.
and getting some stock footage for another Christmas movie. So it's all the good stuff right now. What do you call those? Hallmark
movies, yeah.
So anyway, we're excited about that too. So great job. Thank
Thank
you
you very much.
Thank you, Eddie. Mayor, Council, next we have Matthew Baird. Parks and Rec Director is going to give an update on the
Who's not totally responsible for the drone show.
He's going to discuss
Let's get that straight.
Yes.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, sir.
You should have done the bad first.
Just hand them to us and we can pass them out.
Thanks, sir.
All right, so we will start with the larger sheet that's getting passed around. So a few months ago, I wrote a grant with the state of New Mexico, the Quality of Life Grant. And I wrote for $1 million to renovate Schoolhouse Park. We found out earlier this month, or late last month actually, that we were awarded that grant, that $1 million grant. And so these are just, I kind of want to give some of the layouts of what we're looking at doing for Schoolhouse Park. And so we're going to start kind of left to right. The tennis courts, one of the far left tennis courts on your map, which
Does everybody know where Schoolhouse Park's at? Okay, go ahead.
the far west courts are going to be, we actually have money from lodger's tax to replace those. And so we are going to pair that money along with the grant to replace both sets of tennis courts. It'll be a full replacement. It's going to pull the old asphalt out. Then it's going to be post-tension concrete and then new fencing and everything, so we won't have the cracks and things like that. It is a longer process and it's an expensive process to do that, but that's the proper way to make them. And so we'll be doing that. Then moving over, you'll see a new bathroom between the tennis courts and the pool. So that'll be a CXT style bathroom, kind of like we have, in every other park and everything else in our parks. Then if you go down, which is south of that, we do have those old white bathrooms that are kind of up on the hillside at Schoolhouse Park. We're going to demo those. Those are old, outdated, so we're going to take those out with the new replacement. You move over to the area between the community center and the pool, and then we're going to put a new fence along Sudworth there. That's going to kind of wrap around the three sides kind of, so kids can enjoy that area, that grass area there without the worry of them running over into Sudworth or kicking a ball into Sudworth or something like that. And we're also wanting to move or put a new playground in that area. The current place it's in, it's kind of hidden and kind of back in a corner, and it's not a great area for it. So we're going to put a new playground in there, which involves also on the other side removing the old playground out of that area. With future plans, I would like to where that old playground is, actually change that all into parking lot because we do run out of parking in that area for sure. So that's kind of the quality of life grant in a quick just. I will say, it's $1 million and luckily it's written just for improvements at Schoolhouse Park. So if we can come in under budget, we can add in some more stuff, which is what me and T-Bone are going to work on, trying to come in under budget.
Matt, what's your thought on that when it says new fence? What kind of fence would it be?
So my thoughts is something kind of like, if you've seen the Jehovah's Witness church, the black type of fence that's
Wrought iron?
Yeah, kind of wrought iron type of fence. That's what I imagine for it.
It'll look classy, and you have to have this spent by June 30th.
June 30th, yes. So we're waiting for the state to sign their side of the grant agreement, get it back, and we'll start ordering everything. The nice thing is we already had the tennis courts scheduled because we were doing one set. So when I called him, I said, hey, you're doing both sets. He's like, okay, we can do them at the same time. Like I said, it is a long process because the concrete has to be poured for a month and cure before they can paint it, and there's some other stuff. But he's assured me there's plenty of time to finish it. The same with like playground, that's where we'll order it. And there's about 3 month lead time on it, so we'll be fine on it. The bathrooms, because it's a CXT and they build them and just come set them on site, we won't have an issue. That's kind of why I did this project. It was a really quick turnaround on the grant from when we found out about it. And then we knew it was a quick turnaround from when you get the money to when you have to have it spent. So that's why this is kind of the best bang for our buck. There's a lot of stuff that we can do all together. Speaking of bathrooms, there's going to be a couple, not with this grant, but we do have another grant for a bathroom at Country Club lot. So,
Great.
So we'll be putting in a bathroom with water, a full-fledged bathroom there. We do have a bathroom on order for Oso Canyon Disc Golf Course, and so they'll be putting in a vault bathroom there. And with another grant, we have the Trails Plus grant. We're looking at possibly putting a bathroom at North Park next to the
And your other grant money's being worked on right now in White Mountain, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, y'all doing a great job.
And so we have around $3 million in grants this year that we're working on.
Good job.
And so that's the That's the grant piece that we're, in Schoolhouse Park. So then we'll go over to, the next piece is you'll see this kind of our revenue report from the ice rink. It's doing really well this year. I'm really happy with the numbers. So far, our gross sales have been $12,700 as of this point this year. We sold 441 daily passes, and so most of those are tourists. We've sold 188 Ruidoso resident passes. We've actually only sold 4 Lincoln County and Mescalero passes. And I verified with them, they do check driver's license and stuff, and so because I've kind of wondered how many of those Lincoln County or Ruidoso were sleeping in there, but then for 5 and under, we've had 51. We've had 2, you see the free passes, 203, so those are our free days that we had. So Christmas in the park and then the after party, those 2 days. And then the check-ins, Lincoln County check-ins, so out of those 4 passes, they've come back. 3 of them have come back, and then 149 Ruidoso residents have checked back in, so.
Nice.
So that's our numbers as of this morning. So it goes through last night. Our 2 big weeks for that ice rink are always Christmas, New Year's, those 2 weeks when it gets insanely busy. And so I'm excited to see where we'll be at this year. And it's really nice having the electricity in the park.
Yeah, you got all that great.
And we've had no issues with anything. I've had 1 error code on the chiller the whole time, and it was a bubble got in the glycol. And so it just let me know that there was a little bit of air in the system. But it self-bled and it was fine, so.
Well, you guys did a great job on decorating the park too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great job.
And I do want to give kudos to the group bringing in the movies and everything, Eddie bringing in movies. So I actually got to talk to some of the actors from after the screening of the movie, and one set of them's actually buying a house in Ruidoso. So they were
Oh, really?
going on Saturday to find a home.
It's a good thing you didn't see the insurance talk we just.
Yeah. So that helps bring stuff to our community.
Yeah.
They fell in love with it and they decided to buy a second home here.
Okay, and to let everybody know, you've talked to the president of the,
Yes, so with the drone show, the president of the drone company called me that night of the drone show. There were 66 of the 150 drones didn't take off. And they're not exactly sure why. I talked to them again today. They got all the drones in the shop today, and they're downloading all the data off of them and everything to see what errors the drones had in them, in their system. We do have a meeting for next Wednesday set up with them to let them process all their information, and we can have a meeting to figure out.
because we paid a big deposit on this. That's the whole point of it. We didn't get to show. So anyway, speaking of show, are you going to do anything? T-Bone, you just here for?
My muscle. It's my muscle.
Just the face, the backup.
You guys did a great job, and everybody was really looking forward to that show. I know you were. The movie was well attended that you had out there, so I got a lot of compliments on that too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you to the police department for moving the traffic around. That was good, and you had all the light tower rent
Yes.
out there.
Yep, we had to rent 2. I want to thank Adam for his 2. He let us borrow 2, so that's a big help. And those light towers pretty much lit up all that parking lot and made it really easy to move around.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And Mayor Crawford, if I may add, Christmas in the Park went well, and also the parade, it was, also had a great time. So one other item, Mayor, I wanted to thank Mayor Pro Tem Salas. He attended our local legislative hearings. We, with the help of Samantha, our top project was workforce housing. Our second project was outdoor recreation. We had number 3, bridge replacement. Number 4, fire mitigation and watershed, as we had the presentation, and also street and drainage improvement projects. So these will be our top 5 that we'll be submitting for capital outlay, and we'll be lobbying for these projects.
Okay.
And I'll stand for any additional questions.
There's a big, thick managers report, a lot of good stuff. Does anybody have anything particular?
No.
Okay, well, thank you for laying that all out real good for us. Okay, reports from municipal officials. Councilor Eby?
I just want to say that 2023 was a great year. I want to say thank you to all the different personnel and departments and staff and administration that kept the roads paved, potholes filled, water flowing, toilets flushing, and the economy going. So we're looking forward to a great 2024. And I want to say, I will file for to run again, but if I don't make it, I want to let you know right now. I want on planning and zoning.
Oh, you went on planning and zoning? Yeah, you say it now.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Yes, ma'am.
We did have a good 2023. But I do want to tell Parks and Rec, the decorations are beautiful. You know, when you go downtown at night, you feel like you live in a Hallmark movie. It's just beautiful. And Wingfield Park I've received so many compliments. Also, you know, the grants that the village receives is such a vital, important part to help us out. And these life grants, the tennis players of Ruidoso have deserved these new courts. And since the pickleball players, you know, kind of maneuvered things. So I'm very excited about the renovation of Schoolhouse Park. That's been here for a long time. And for public input, I would just like to say that, you know, we don't say a lot with public input, but I will rest assured that we listen, and blighted properties has been very, very important to this council, and we take that very seriously. So thank you very much. And Merry Christmas.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I echo the same statements as my fellow councilors mentioned, and a great job at the Christmas in the Park. I mean, that was a good turnout, more than I thought, as windy as it got, but it seemed like it calmed down a little bit. So that was really good. And yes, as Manager Sena said, I did attend the legislative, I guess, talk show. You know, I was corrected a couple of times on watch what I say, so I'll better explain that later to you and stuff. But anyway, basically what it was our representative, Vincent, you know, he said, I'm tired of hearing about bridges. You know, we always ask for money for bridges, and asking for $6 million. He just said, you know, ask for $1 million. And I said, okay, we'll change it to that. But then after a while, I thought about it. No, he's our representative. He should get us that $6 million. So, but no, that was one of the comments. But thank you, Mayor. I mean, you were away, so that's what job of Mayor Pro Tem. I fill in for the mayor that comes in there. I want to again thank all the committees, and we had their appreciation, support of serving on those committees last week, and it was a wild turnout attendance by the members. I was impressed with that, which that gives me a reminder of our RSVP appreciation dinner now. It used to be a lunch, but it outgrew the community center, so now we're at the high school on Thursday, and appreciating all those retired volunteers that help out our community. I forget, they bring in while the work that they volunteer equals into the $100,000s of dollars of what businesses and places would have to pay out, so we appreciate that. And I do thank Parks and Rec for everything they're doing, as well as the water department. You mentioned them, and going on to water leaks everywhere all the time. And that brings me up to, after hearing Mrs. Dalton talk about the insurance claim, this is the importance of our bond question that we'll have on the ballot, and we've been having it the last 9-8 years. About our water system, improvement to our water system. It's asking for $3 million each election to help replace dilapidated lines, improving them from 2-inch lines to 6-inch lines, and the importance of that is that we get more hydrants out. And again, That's all bidded out for contractors, but Adam and his crew, the water department, street department, they do their share in maintaining all of that. So, other than that, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Anybody? Counselor Jackson?
Mr. Mayor, I think most that's been spoken is on point. I want to tag on to Parks and Rec with all the holiday activities that they do, and not just during the holidays, really throughout the year, depending on what the event is. The Midtown sound system, I got to just drive slowly through Midtown the other day, and it really kind of beefs the place up. It gives it a very welcoming environment. The new lights and poles and the decorations really make the Midtown area really look nice. And as Mayor Pro Tem brought up, the Ruidoso Senior Volunteers Program, not enough can be said for the work that they do selflessly. And you can tell because where it used to be in the community center, now we moved it to the high school in the cafeteria area just to supply all that and room that's needed. And that's all I have.
Good. Thank you, buddy. Counselor Hooker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So many things I would echo my colleagues saying, but over Thanksgiving, had a lot of people in the village, and up in the area that I live in, we had the dumpsters got full, and then trash got piled up on the outside, and it was a big mess. And I think it's probably one of those that gets missed, Jerry and his crew in the cleanup, but it goes to the furtherance of when I called Ron and got the Bear Mess guy up there, and Scott Ashley, one of the guys that works there, he literally jumped in that dumpster and started flinging trash up into his truck. And that's where we forget, cops, they're doing their thing, the firemen, all this, Parks and Rec, but if we don't clean up the trash, then it looks nasty. And coming from another part of the state, in that community, I see people, they're still friends on social media, and they talk about how nasty it is. We're doing a good job. Jerry, you guys are doing a good job. So again, I know it's rough, and I just really want to focus on y'all. And yes, I did get to be Santa Claus. A lot of fun doing that. The library did a great job putting that on. I think that they could probably tell me how many kids were there. There's 40 or 50 little people running around, and some of them got to come up and take a picture with Santa Claus. So it's a good time, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. God bless.
All right, thank you. We'll move on, but everybody knows about the storm coming. So rest assured, the streets department, the police department, Mr. Twinkle Toes himself, Adam Sanchez is all over it. So the first snow flurries that come on, we'll get a call from the on-duty officer, police officer, and then everybody will be deployed because we want to make sure that we have safe streets and whatnot here. So
And Mayor Crawford, the dispatcher, he calls me at 2-3, it's like, I'm sorry for waking you up.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's fine, you're doing your job.
Yeah, yeah. It's beat some of the other calls that you get, I can assure you that. So. Anyway, we're looking forward to a good snow, and so, and the guys getting out there and doing their thing. We've got some new equipment, anything that's got four-wheel drive on it's got a blade now, so we're excited about that. And Adam and I, we hope Santa Claus brings us one of those attachments to the front end loader that snow blower, blows it into the back of the dump trucks, but I don't think that's happening. But we can always hope, and we'll keep planning. We'll move on to public hearings. Public hearing for adoption and designation of the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area, MRA Plan, Resolution 2023-42 MRA, Designation Resolution 2023-43, Meacham Corridor MRA Plan. And this is becoming a strategic plan that we've worked on. And who do we have, Samantha?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and councilors. My name is Carlos Gamora. I'm a city planner. I work for the consulting firm Site Southwest. We've had a great relationship with you for many, many years. I also have on here Ali Kasky, a colleague of mine, and Phyllis Taylor, who I imagine a lot of people have met over time. So they're also available here. I would like to today briefly introduce some of the metropolitan redevelopment concepts generally. We talked a little bit about this a couple weeks ago. Then I'd like to ask the council to consider the two resolutions separately. And so we will introduce the first resolution. We'll have a public hearing on that, have deliberations around that. If that first resolution passes, we'll introduce the second resolution, have a public hearing and deliberation. If that makes sense.
Got it.
Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So what is an MRA? Real briefly, an MRA enables special tools to be used by municipalities through compliance with state laws and state planning processes. The two main aspects of it is it demonstrates need by identifying conditions of blight, and it addresses those kinds of blighted conditions through different kinds of state-enabled processes. It also designates a district boundary. So for this project, we're proposing designating the Beecham Corridor. What does an MRA do? Next slide. The MRA allows targeted public investment in private development efforts, so that's public-private partnerships. It gets around the anti-donation clause by creating that kind of investment. The idea is that those investments are supposed to be creating a good ROI, a return on investment for the community, reversing those conditions of blight. It addresses those conditions of blight directly, and it provides special tools reserved by the state and MR state laws. That's kind of the basics, the general basics for the MR process. Next slide. The MR process is split up into two different parts. And so this also follows the two different resolutions we have. The first process is the designation report. So the designation report assesses the existing conditions in an area and designates an area boundary. That's pretty much all it does. That has to be passed per state law prior to actually getting into the plan. The plan, which is the second resolution, is where we start to assess and set some of the overall goals for that area, start establishing strategies, and start thinking about some of the recommended potential strategies, projects, and redevelopment opportunities that could happen in that area. Next slide. The specific process we've been following for this, for the Beecham Corridor, so for the past several months, been working with Sam, other city staff members, community members, planning commission. We've also chatted with yourselves a couple weeks ago, but we've been documenting conditions within the Beecham area, considering different kinds of strategies, and now we have a draft plan. Again, we introduced some of that plan a couple weeks ago. We've got some kind of refinements to that. Let's go to the next slide. So the designation report, this is the first resolution, okay? So for the first resolution, next slide, the most important part, the designation area. So we've identified this designation area. This has not changed since we talked last. To refresh you a little bit, it's going from right near the Sutterth MRA all the way up to Swiss Chalet. It covers most, if not all, of the properties directly adjacent to Beecham. And it extends a little bit further when we've identified some areas that might have redevelopment opportunities. An example would be the golf course. An example could also be some housing on the other side of Bonanza. This doesn't lock any property owners into having to do anything with their property. All it does is provide additional tools and opportunities for redevelopment for those properties. Next slide. So the designation report identifies several conditions of blight. Now, the conditions of blight are not my subjective opinion. These are conditions of blight defined by the state's MR laws. This is how they're defining those conditions of blight. I won't go through all of them, but housing, deterioration, vacancy, underutilized properties. Next slide. The summary of the designation report, and it's fairly simple, but the summary of the designation report is that we found that within this corridor, it meets the state criteria for a designation area. We've identified that there are multiple conditions of blight within that area, that there are effective MR strategies, the metropolitan redevelopment strategies that could be used to address those conditions of blight. And something really important that starts getting more into the planning process is identifying how housing could really help revitalize the commercial opportunities within that corridor, but also addressing a lot of the community goals and needs within the greater community. That's the summary of what the designation report is. It's relatively simple, relatively short. Next slide. So now we've got the resolution. I'll allow Sam to talk a little bit about the resolution. One earlier. There we go. So this is the resolution 2023-43. Sam, did you want to introduce this?
Yes, so we're hoping that you all will resolve that the boundary identified does have conditions of blight, and that we would like to look at using the tools afforded by the state statute moving forward for revitalization of this business corridor.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
absolutely.
On the blight, do we have to go through the same process that we do with everything else when we declare something blighted? I mean, like the 45 days, you know what I'm saying? All of the paperwork that has to be.
So if we're going to do the nuisance abatement, we would have to still go through that same process. It's a different statute that outlines that. This would provide us the opportunity to invest public dollars into private property improvements. And so it would be a quicker process, and we would be able to invest our actual money into those private properties to get around the anti-donation.
But I'd say the processes are somewhat different. I mean, when a municipality is trying to identify a blighted property and address that in other kinds of tools, kind of a different process. For this, it's more saying that according to the state's Metropolitan Redevelopment Act, there's these larger conditions of blight that affect the whole area. And because those are there, then you can take advanced steps to start addressing that. So a little bit different, but similar kind of goals, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, anyone have any questions?
I just want a little bit of clarification on the blight, because like you said, that it's not your subjective opinion as far as what constitutes blight, but it goes with the MRA statutes put out by the state. So if it is a blight considered in for a metropolitan redevelopment zone, then what's the borderline? How far is that from being a nuisance as far as is in a state statute? Where that's kind of like what I'm wondering.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Councilors. So the ways that you're identifying blight per the MR state statute, it doesn't really have as much to do with nuisance. It's more whether there's conditions that are inhibiting or impairing commercial activity, health and welfare. So for instance, a condition of blight is a lack of adequate housing. So when we look at that, we could see that there is insufficient housing in the area. That's not that's not per se a nuisance or how you might define blight in other ways. But from a metropolitan redevelopment perspective, it's saying that those are kind of these blighted conditions. And again, blight is it's a very different kind of definition for these purposes. But we're saying that that's a blighted condition that should be remedied through, again, some of these special tools to start opening up more economic development, welfare, health opportunities. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, thanks for clarifying, because a lot of people think blight would be, say, aesthetics, essentially, and public safety, but you're looking at it as blight, anything that would affect negatively a good economy.
Correct. And so an example could be the physical conditions. So sidewalks that are buckled, paint that's peeling, that could still be considered blight. But again, we're kind of looking at that at a different context, at a different scale, and whether that is inhibiting kind of this overall growth and economic well-being of the area compared to some of the goals of the community.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and open this portion up to the public. We'll be talking about the adoption and designation of the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Plan. So if you want to speak or you think you might want to speak, you'll need to stand up and be sworn in. Anybody online raising their hand? Okay. Nobody? No public comment? Okay, then we'll close the public portion, comment period, and now then I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve adoption of the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Plan as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
I just want to clarify that it's resolution, the approval of resolution 2023-42.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah, right,
Would you like that restated, or?
please.
All right.
Right, the designation part, the MRA designation resolution 2023-42.
I would withdraw that motion and offer this one. I move to adopt adoption and designation of the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area, otherwise known as MRA Plan, Resolution 2023-42, MRA Designation, Resolution 2023-43, Meacham Corridor, MRA Plan.
Is that what we were doing?
No, we're just
No.
doing the first resolution.
Yeah, you had it right. The first time, they overcomplicated you on that. You just need to add resolution 2023-42.
Oh, I'd so move.
There you go.
And I second move again.
Friendly, okay. Anybody else have any wisecracks, comments? Roll call.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye, I think.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Okay, now we'll have another, open it, do we need, is it public input on the designation too?
So that was the designation report. We'll now move to item 2. If we could advance the slides to the 2 Metropolitan Redevelopment Plan.
Okay, that was the designation.
There we go. Okay, so for the Metropolitan Redevelopment Plan, this is item 2, resolution 2. So the main goals we have from this process, the main overarching goals is housing and economic development. And so within this, we've identified 2 different goals here. And so that's enhancing the Meacham Drive corridor by providing a permanent mix of affordable and market rate homes in mixed income communities for housing. It's also looking at multifamily rental housing for households with family, senior, special needs, and workforce populations. So those are the 2 main housing goals. On the economic side, it's trying to create more of the commercial mixed-use district that's providing different goods and services to residents, visitors, and different area, regional residents. So those are the 2 main goals we have for that. Let's go to the next slide. Within the MRA plan, per state statute, one of the important things we have to do is we've got to address the different conditions of blight. So we took each of the different conditions and are recommending some of these specific strategies or specific proposed projects here. Now, these proposed projects are recommended for consideration. They still would require staff, leadership, perhaps the city council to figure out how well these would be implemented, how well these might make sense. This is a recommendation for consideration, not an obligation, if that makes any sense. So these are some of the primary proposed projects. We've detailed some of the ways that you could approach some of this within the plan. Next slide. Something that's important, though, is that we're looking at a whole toolbox. So especially with this kind of plan, this plan isn't locking the community in as much as it's trying to give as many tools possible to the community to actually address some of these issues. So we've outlined some of the primary tools that we think are most common or most attractive. So we've kind of focused on some of those. Again, I kind of call this the project toolbox, though. It doesn't mean you have to use all of them. Some of them will be right size for different projects, different areas, but we've provided a variety of these different tools. Let's go to the next slide. Here's some more of them. And so for this, we've looked at some of the different conditions of blight and some of the specific projects within a toolbox that could address those. Let's go to the next slide. A summary for this, though, is that we're trying to prioritize housing, and that's a really important part of that. So prioritizing housing to accommodate the current population anticipated growth, enhancing the Meacham Corridor as a thriving commercial and mixed-use district, and enabling the village to use all legally available powers as permitted by the Metropolitan Redevelopment Code. So again, this is trying to give you the largest toolbox you can. So we've got some recommendations, but it's really trying to be quite expansive with those tools. Let's go to the next slide. And so now the resolution for this second item. So this is for the Meacham Corridor MR plan. Sam, would you like to introduce this?
Yes, so this resolution will be adopting the plan as a whole. We have designated the boundary and identified properties of vacancy and blight, but this one, as he said, outlines tools available, project ideas, and potential funding sources that staff could look at for improving these properties.
Anybody else have any questions? Just gives us some public-private opportunities to do some housing development that we sorely need. So, okay, so we'll have the public portion of the resolution 2023-43 on the Meacham Corridor MRA plan. Okay, so we'll open up public. Is there anybody in the public that wants to speak on it? No. Okay, so we'll close the public portion, and I would entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2023-43 Meacham Corridor MRA Plan.
Second.
Final discussion? Thank you all for putting this together. It is a big tool that maybe we can finally get some across the finish line. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, folks. Now we'll move on to regular items. Thank you very much for all the hard work and the meetings and the volunteers that are on the MRA.
I know we have Phyllis Taylor online. I just wanted to thank her and her staff to sticking to my aggressive schedule of less
Yeah.
than 100 days of getting this done.
Because
So
you
I
were on a
thank you.
limited time schedule to meet our application for our 9% tax credit on the housing development. So thank you all for that very much. Appreciate it,
Thank
Phyllis.
you, guys. Thanks to our staff and to your staff, and happy holidays.
You too. Merry Christmas. Item number one, regular item number one. Come on down, Mr. Simpson. Discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2023-41, a resolution finding the property located at 100 Nogal Place, Block 3, Lot 1 of Country Club Estate Subdivision, Ruidoso, Ruidoso, New Mexico, a public nuisance. And with us today, we have Officer Simpson, who had people had some kind words about you earlier. That was awesome. Samantha is here, and then our Inspector Chief, do you get a title like that? Is it Chief Inspector Myers?
Building official.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Before you today is in regards to the property located at 100 Nogal Place, as some of the members of the public who stepped forward earlier brought to your attention. Obviously, we have some issues going on at that property. We do have a summary, which I'll briefly go over. And in that summary, it notes that we have building issues dating all the way back to 2014. That was an initial violation letter. I believe that we had some interactions prior to that, but nothing was in specific writing with specific violations. But it was in regards to a deck, and that was in 2014. One item I would like to add to this that I forgot to put on this summary, and I'll just make note of it, was there was a fire at this location in November of 2019. That was in regards to a fireplace in the structure. We did have fire personnel respond. They had to take a portion of the fireplace out. I was reminded of that actually just earlier. It wasn't in our items that we had because we're dealing with the building portion of things, but I do want to make a note of that we have had issues like that in the past. So we did have a fire at the location in November of 2019. Beyond the multiple permits which you see on the paperwork before you, there were also multiple agreements that we've tried to make with the property owner, come to terms on timeframes and getting the property to come into compliance. But ultimately, at this point, all the way to the extent of bringing it before municipal court with a criminal charge, where we've been unable to get or gain compliance. So this is in reference to a resolution to find the property at 100 Nogal Place a public nuisance.
Okay. Can you answer a question that I heard earlier about a CO? Do they have a CO?
I can't answer a question. A CO is issued when the home is built, and a remodel does not require a CO. It requires a final. So they can live in the home if it's terrible, the condition that it's in. So it's not an occupancy issue.
Okay. So back to you, Mr. Simpson. Is there people living there now?
Yes. I've made contact with the tenants. As a matter of fact, the notice of violation that's included in your packet was actually hand-delivered to one of the tenants. From the bits of information I'm getting from different conversations is that either the tenant or person staying in the home are either a contractor or someone who's being hired to do work at the property. However, I have not seen any substantial work actually occur. I've been by the property multiple occasions and again, made contact at the house with the tenant, and I haven't seen any substantial work actually occur.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, staff?
I do.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Do they have utilities? Are their utilities turned on?
Initially, they did not. I don't remember the extent of what utilities were not operational, but I know there was a conversation had about water at that location, and from what I understood, a couple of different conversations happened, and the past due bill was settled, and so to the best of my knowledge, there are utilities at the residence.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Okay, so as we have had things come before us like this and we look at it and maybe it's something just needs to be cleaned up, it's got trash on the property or this or that, I think this one is going into a different rabbit hole or different route. I mean, or if we finalize something and we go, okay, yes, are we going out there and fixing the house? Are we building the house, rebuilding the house, or are we tearing it down? I don't know where we go.
Ultimately, that's a decision of council. With that being said, this resolution is not saying, hey, you finish it or we're going to come finish it. This resolution is saying you need to correct the structure that's in a state of partial construction and missing all of these items. Otherwise, we're going to take action against the house. That action can be all the way up to removal. Within our code, it actually states that the building official can give notice and we can move forward with removing all unfinished portions of the project. With that being said, the council has some leniency, and I believe we have Mr. Hodges on, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I believe that you may be able to interact with Mr. Hodges. My interactions have been that he desires to finish this structure, but we haven't been able to gain any ground with him. So I'll leave it to either of you as far as a recommendation for what we should do moving forward if this is passed.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be that we follow the code and remove unfinished work.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So my question, looking at your summary, on the 17th of November, you gave the notice of violation and nothing, while there's 15 days of grace to get it going, nothing has happened. So is there another citation to have the owner appear in court now for that? I don't know if Zach.
He's already been there once.
I don't know of any cases pending in municipal court.
We haven't filed any further criminal charges. The reason this is being brought before council is because the municipal court, we were, with those proceedings, not able to gain any ground. We weren't able to get anything done other than a $500 fine. So that case has been closed. There's no further action being taken on the criminal level. We can pursue that if that's something that's recommended by council, but this is specifically just for that.
And I guess that's my point right there. Okay, if he's already violated and he paid that first one, well, hit him with another violation, send him to court, let him keep paying the $500, or go in with our ordinance, and then we do the cleanup. But at least we're collecting money from them to do the cleanup.
Well, then we'll have a lien on the property, but at the point, I think we're way past that. I mean, it's going to be where we have to take action, hire a contractor, finish what the problem is now, put a lien on the property.
Yep.
That's the amount of action we can, am I correct?
Yes, and after Judge Powder found him guilty, we closed out that existing building permit. He has since reopened a building permit to finish the construction. But we afforded him that opportunity so that he could show progress prior to today to demonstrate goodwill, but we haven't seen any progress or had inspections called in to date.
Okay.
Mayor, you left out the final step of foreclosing the lien.
Oh, foreclosing the lien, I'm sorry, yeah, and then following through to foreclose the lien.
Then, Samantha, you just stated that you issued a new permit. Is that, how long ago was that? And tell me what is the expiration of the permit?
Answer for you. Go ahead. The most recent permit was issued November 22nd of 2023. So that is a current permit. It is valid. However, he hasn't called in any. Ultimately, the number of permits that we've actually processed for this property have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 total permits. Some of those have been to reestablish the permit, but on the majority, I can say, he has failed to meet the timeframes for getting inspections, which keeps a valid permit.
Okay, so, thank you for that. But, so I was going to ask Zach, coming off of that question then, is there anything legally that we have to hurdle as far as the permit being active right now? If we go forward and pass this resolution, is there anything that?
This is the legal part of it.
Okay, so then we don't have to worry about the permit still being active right now, then?
No.
Okay.
And,
The permit's active because we would not let him work on the house without a permit.
Yeah.
Dr. Jackson has a
first of all, my apologies to the people of Nogal Place. I think you're all here for a very valid reason. Secondly, I just had a couple of things, and Bobby, this is similar to that other hearing that we had. Is it fair to say that we've been after this for 9 years at least with permits and no action?
Yes.
And then the other one is, it is an obvious health hazard with the listing of vermin and hazards to either the occupied residents or even to those that may live contiguous to this residence?
Yes.
Thank you.
As a point of clarification, back to the last question about permit and legalities, ultimately, we can't issue him a notice of violation and say, you must do these things, and then deny him a permit, which gives him the legal right to do those things. That's the reason that we issued this last notice on the 17th, was to make sure that he was aware you need to take action. We're planning on taking action against you. And with the permit, he does, it's somewhat of a show of faith, but I wouldn't say so with the number of permits that have been pulled in the past.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question.
Yes.
If we adopt this resolution, okay, then how long is it before we can get this going?
So proper notice has to be taken place, which is the state statute sets, they have to be notified, and it requires me to do a multitude of things. Number one, we can post on the property and also in the local newspaper. And then there's also another portion to that. However, I typically do all three: certified letter, post on the property, and also post in the newspaper. That way we could say that we did our due diligence to give proper notice. If Mr. Hodges is on today, he'll also be notified. So that's even one more step. Once proper notice has been given, meaning it's been posted in the paper, it's been posted on the property, 10 days starts. Within that time frame, he has to commence correcting these items. And I know we hate that word. We're going to be talking about that word in another item. But ultimately, state statute says he must commence taking corrective action on those items. If he fails to do so, there's also the possibility that he can disagree with the council's position on it and appeal that decision, or at least I can't remember the word, but it's basically a dispute of your decision. He also has the opportunity after that time frame, if he wanted to go to the fullest extent, there is the appeal process all the way to the district court to ask about the legalities of our decisions here within council. So there's a lot of legality that's potential behind it, but ultimately, to answer your question in short, once proper notice has been given, those postings have happened, it would be 10 days after that he must commence. Otherwise, we can take action against the property within the code.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Hodges, you've heard, are you available to respond? and that, I don't see him up there unless he's Samsung SM. Okay, Mr. Hodges, are you able to respond? Okay, we'll go one more time before I ask for a motion. Mr. Hodges, are you able to respond? And just to know, Mr. Hodges was aware of the meeting and did have the choice to be here or be on Zoom or on the phone. Okay, I don't hear anything. So, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2023-41, a resolution finding the property located at 100 Nogal Place, Block 3, Lot 1 of the Country Club Estate Subdivision, Rios, New Mexico, a public nuisance.
Second.
Mayor,
Yes.
can we hear a little bit more about how he was notified of this hearing?
Can I talk, oh, you got, okay, our deputy manager?
Mayor, council, I reached out to him. We did send a notification letter prior to that, and we did let him know that he would be here. I spoke with him yesterday. He said that he would be online today. He wouldn't be able to be present. And as we notified, I've been trying to text him right now as well to make sure he could speak, but I haven't gotten any response either. But he was notified over phone.
Did you meet with him in your office?
I met with him recently. I met with him recently, 2 weeks ago. We spoke. He did mention that he did start spending money to fix the house, that he had put money into windows, that he was trying to work with the village per this permit and trying to get work done. As Mr. Simpson mentioned, he hasn't seen anything. I can't verify that he actually has purchased windows or that he's done anything else. I did just receive a message from him saying, yes, I would. I can't hear anything. Can I speak? So not sure if you'd like to get him on the phone or something different.
Can he hear us? If he can't hear us, how can we?
It just says, yes, I would. I haven't heard anything. That's all his message says. So
We can
that
try
was
it
the
if he can
notification.
speak, but we need to be able to ask him questions. That's the issue. But now we've already got a motion. We've already got a second, and we answered the question of how he's been. So
Mayor, let me ask Jenny and/or Yvonne. I thought I heard one of you say that he told you that he would be Samsung, whatever that Samsung identity is on the call.
Yes.
Did y'all talk to
I
him?
had this Samsung number trying to log into Zoom, or a Samsung something, so I went and called him to see if it was him to let him in, and he said it was him. I said, okay, I'm gonna let you in.
And is that the same Samsung that's being shown right there?
That's the only Samsung on there, but if you see, like, whenever I hover over these other names, you see how it says ask to unmute?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't for him, so I don't know what he's on, or,
He's asking if I can call and if he can speak over the phone. I'm not sure if that's adequate or not.
I think you have to give him that opportunity and maybe put it right in front of that mic.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, before you get him on the phone, I want to say I like seeing this, like a task force here. That looks good to have, where it's not just him sitting here. You know, we got housing, we got administration, we got other people. I think that'll help furtherance of this, projects like this or needs.
Oh? Mr. Hodges, I have you on speakerphone. You're here with the council.
Okay. Unfortunately, it says that my microphone is muted, which it's not on my end. So I don't know what to say.
well, have you been able to hear anything that was discussed?
No, I haven't heard a single thing.
Okay, is there a reason why we shouldn't find your property located at 100 Nogal?
Is there a reason what now?
That we shouldn't find it that you've not been responding to requests and following through on completion of your applications?
Well, the bottom line is this. After COVID, I'm down here in Midland, and I was doing steel metal buildings, and that came to a halt. Unfortunately, at the time, I had a lot of heavy equipment that I had big payments on that I had to pay. At this point in time, I have gotten just about paid off. A couple of them already paid off, and I'm moving forward up there. I've got them coming. I've ordered the garage doors and ordered some windows. And if it, this COVID with this inflation just stopped a lot of the work that I was doing, and it was either turn all the stuff in and go home and forget about it, or save what I could and then get started as quick as I could. We have started back up down here, and I plan on making progress.
So you have a contractor that you've already signed a contract for that's supposed to be doing the work as you say, because we don't see any work done.
Well, I just got a permit a few weeks ago, and I ordered the windows and I ordered the garage doors. They've all been ordered.
Mm-hmm. If we'd have had that discussion probably at least 5 years ago, because we've been dealing with this for at least 9 years. And so I know that you don't know, but we have an audience full of your neighbors over here that are having to deal with this on a daily basis. And so, what do you say to those folks that gives them any kind of solace that this is actually going to happen this time?
Well, I've already got the stuff ordered, so
Okay.
Get started.
Okay. All right.
So I have had contractors up there, and unfortunately, well, you know how it goes down there. So anyway, I've got the stuff ordered, and we're going to be started. It'll be 2 to 4 weeks before the garage. It'll be 2 weeks before the garage doors are in, and they told me 4 weeks on the windows, which was, oh golly, a week or two ago. So that's where I am on it.
Okay.
We have started the work back up, so I'll be able to shove more money into it.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hodges? No? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. We have spoke to the property owner. We wanted to make sure we gave you every opportunity because I have a list here of documentation showing the communications back and forth going all the way back to 2014. So now then I will ask for a roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Okay, so that's unanimous that we find that property at 100 Nogal Place, Block 3, Lot 1, Country Club Estate Subdivision, a public nuisance. So we'll start taking action to this point and move forward.
Understanding what you're saying you're going to do.
Well, we're going to start everything that we can to get that property cleaned up to the point of exercising the part of our ordinance where we will actually get our own contractor to some point to shore up the property to make it not such an eyesore. Then we will file for a lien, and then we will try to execute that lien on the property.
Okay.
Okay? All righty. Well, thank you for tuning in. Okay. Item number 2, discussion and possible action on contract for goods and services for the rental and laundry services for uniforms, floor mats, and janitorial items with Mission Linen Supply, awarded via invitation to bid ITB number 2024-005B.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, Carol wasn't in today, so this is, this is part of the consent agenda on the award, and this will be going full service with Mission Linen, with all village departments that are currently renting or leasing the uniforms, and the estimated net savings will be $9,104.68.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Do so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve contract for goods and services for the rental and laundry services for uniforms, floor mats, and janitorial items with Mission Linen Supply, awarded VIA invitation to bid number 2024-005B.
Second.
Any final discussion? None. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker.
Aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Item number 3, discussion and possible action on adoption of Resolution 2023-39, a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a water project fund loan grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority, NMFA, and the Village of Ruidoso borrower in the amount of $918,415. Yes, ma'am. Judy?
Yes, Mayor, councilors, this is another funding package from the Finance Authority where it is a combination of a grant loan. We have used our SGRT money as a pledge to leverage to get these funding packages. In the past, the split has been a 60% loan and a 40% grant. However, on this one, we have gotten a 10% loan and a 90% grant. So the loan amount is $91,842, with the grant being $826,000. As you know, we don't extend the loan. As soon as the project is finished, we actually pay off the loan, so we don't incur any debt. We are just leveraging our monies to get grant funds.
Okay.
That's great.
Anybody have any questions? Motion,
I
please.
move that we accept the adoption of Resolution 2023-39, a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of water project fund loan grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority and the Village of Ruidoso in the total amount of $918,415.
Second.
Final discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Oh,
Counselor Hooker.
Aye.
And Counselor Jackson.
Aye. Oh,
Counselor Salas.
Yes, aye.
all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Raphael, it was number 3.
Now we'll move on to the next one, and this is Bernadine Herrera. So, you got to see almost the whole show today. So we will talk about discussion and possible action on agreement with Unger Bach Systems International LLC for Venue Ops booking software subscription for the Ruidoso Convention Center in the amount of $51,709.62 for 4 years. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor and council, this is a software that we use. It's our booking software. And it's also used to generate our contracts and invoicing. And we've had it for almost 2 years, but we're wanting to do this agreement for 4 because we're getting a substantial discount each year. So this is for a total of 4 years, and so that's all we're looking for is just for an agreement for the next 4 years to get that discount.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Bernadine?
Well, Mr. Mayor, no, I'm all in on it. I just wondered, is there a way we can track the contract since it's going out 4 years, so it will come up for renewal and give us fair warning?
She has it.
Okay.
Yes,
Second
sir.
one was, how does it let you work better and not harder?
Well, what it is when you go in and you put in all the information on a group, and then it automatically, from there, will automatically generate your contract, so you're not having to input it here and then input the contract separately, input the invoicing separately, because it'll put in their address and everything, and then you just go in and click on all the items that they've used, whether it be a stage, linen, dance floor, and those types of things, and then we can just email everything directly from the system instead of having to do everything separately. So it's been really nice.
Thank you. The only other question I had is on that contract on 11.6, it cites domicile in Germany. I just wondered what that was about.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
No, it had a lot of references to the laws in France and laws in Germany, but there is also a clause in the contract that says New Mexico law applies to
So
this.
they do know it is New Mexico.
Yes.
That was my only point.
Comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
It, kind of unrelated, but because you're sitting here, the convention center looks great, the new furniture and stuff that's in there.
Thank you.
Been there for several venues, it just really looks good. So
Yeah, it does.
Thanks, Santa. We appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you all.
All right, need a motion, please.
I move that we accept Unger Bach Systems International LLC for Venue Ops booking software subscription for Ruidoso Convention Center in the amount of $51,709.62 for 4 years.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
All right, Lee Boy, it's your turn, man. Next item, regular item number 5, discussion and possible action on award of RFP number 2024-002P, professional engineering services for Sierra Blanca Regional Airport to Armstrong Consultants, a Lochner company. Yes, gentlemen, and we appreciate Armstrong being in the audience
Yes.
Yes.
the whole time.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you. This item is a RFP award. The village went out for RFP for services directly related to professional engineering at the airport. After the RFP process and a review of submissions, there was a selection made, and that selection was the recommended selection was for Armstrong Consultants. The item in front of you is for the award of the RFP 2024-002P for those professional services.
It looks like it was pretty active. You had 10 draw down on it and.
Yes, sir.
And 5 submitted. Okay. Does anybody have any additional questions?
I have a comment.
Comment?
And I did talk to Mr. Garcia and Mr. Archibald earlier and stuff, but I have received quite a few good jobs on the airport and how it's turned out. And so I just appreciate that we are continuing with an engineering firm that knows our facility and doing the work that would benefit all of us. So.
Yep, thank you. Need a motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion there, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve award of RFP number 2024-002P Professional Engineering Services for Sierra Blanca Regional Airport to Armstrong Consultants and Lochner Company.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
All right, you're good. You didn't even say one word, Lee. Not one word. Not one word. Item number 6, but you still have an opportunity. Discussion and possible action on professional services agreement with Armstrong Consultants, a Lochner company for professional engineering services for Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, awarded via request for proposals, RFP number 2024-002P. Motion?
Oh, just straight at it. I'll do it then. I'll make a motion that we approve the professional services agreement with Armstrong Consultants, a Lochner company for professional engineering services for Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, awarded via request for proposal, RFP number 2024-002P.
Second.
Any final discussion? Okay. You got your snow removal plan ready to go? Okay. There, you said something. There you go. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Now then, we'll have our closed session. Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
attending. Could I get a motion to go into closed session, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move into closed session for discussion of limited personnel matters citing 1015-1H2 NMSA 1978. Further discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, citing 1015-1H7 NMSA 1978, and discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and/or disposal of real property and/or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso, citing 1015-1H8 MSA 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Who was second?
Who did the second?
It was
Joe?
Joe.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Okay, and we will be back after a while. Thank you, everybody, for attending. You gonna be in there, Christella? Okay.
Me, sir.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, man. What I've learned is all you do is just say no.
Just say no.
Say no. And now